There is a comfortable lie that military dominance is about building the perfect machine. That if you throw enough money at a problem, say $1.7 trillion, you eventually buy invincibility. The F-35 Lightning II is the most expensive weapon system in human history. It was sold to the American public and its allies as a technological marvel that would render all other aircraft obsolete. But if you strip away the Lockheed Martin press releases and look at the actual procurement logs, what you find is a program that spent 2 decades fighting its own engineering. A plane that was supposed to be affordable, but became a financial black hole. A universal fighter that required 3 completely different airframes to work. And yet, despite the cost overruns, the engine fires, and the software glitches that could ground a fleet if the Wi-Fi wasn't working, something strange happened. The F-35 won. It is currently the most requested fighter jet on the planet. But there is one operator that looked at the F-35 and said, "This isn't good enough." While the UK, Japan, and Italy took the jet as it came out of the box, Israel did something no other nation was allowed to do. They cracked it open. In this video, we aren't just talking about the F-35. We are talking about the Adir, the Israeli variant that proves the only way to fix a trillion-dollar American mistake is to ignore the American rule book. Welcome to the Real Analysis. To understand why the Israeli version exists, you have to understand the foundational flaw of the F-35 program. It was born in the 1990s as the Joint Strike Fighter, JSF. The Pentagon's idea was seductive in its simplicity and disastrous in its execution. They wanted one airframe to replace the F-16, the A-10, the F-18, and the Harrier. Think about the absurdity of that. You want a supersonic sniper rifle that acts like a rugged shotgun and can also hover like a helicopter. The result was a compromise that satisfied no one. They built 3 variants to save money on common parts, but ended up with less than 25% commonality between them. The F-35A for the Air Force is a conventional runway queen. The F-35B for the Marines carries a massive lift fan behind the cockpit for vertical landing, which eats up fuel space and range. The F-35C for the Navy needs heavy reinforced landing gear and folding wings for carrier ops. This forced commonality drove the price into the stratosphere. The development alone cost $67 billion. The total life cycle cost is projected at $1.7 trillion. To put that in perspective, that is the GDP of Russia. But the real killer wasn't the airframe. It was the software. The F-35 is a flying computer with 8 million lines of code. It relies on a system called ALICE, Autonomic Logistics Information System. In theory, ALICE orders spare parts automatically. In practice, it was a nightmare that reported false positives, grounding perfectly good jets, and, crucially, sent all that data back to Lockheed Martin servers in the United States. For most allies, this was the deal. You buy the plane, but you don't own the brain. You cannot modify the code. You cannot add your own weapons without asking permission. You are renting capability from the US government. This iPhone model of warfare works for countries that fight coalition wars every 20 years. It does not work for a country that has hostile airspace 40 miles from its capital. And that is where the story changes.
Israel is a Level 3 partner in the JSF program. By the standard rules, they should have zero access to the source code. But geopolitics doesn't follow standard rules. Due to the qualitative military edge, QME, a US legal requirement to ensure Israel maintains technological superiority in the Middle East. Tel Aviv negotiated a deal that no one else got. They bought 75 F-35s, but they call them the F-35I, Adir, which translates to mighty. Here is the technical difference. The Americans allowed Israel to install a man-in-the-loop system. Think of the F-35's main computer as a walled garden. Israel was allowed to plug their own App Store on top of it. They utilize a plug-and-play architecture that sits over the main avionics. Why does this matter? Because the standard F-35 relies on American threat libraries. If a new Russian radar pops up in Syria, the US Air Force has to record the signal, send it to a lab in Florida, code a patch, and send it back to the fleet weeks or months later. Israel cannot wait weeks. They share a border with Syria, where Russian S-400 batteries are active. They deal with Iranian proxies moving advanced SAMs into Lebanon. The F-35I allows the Israeli Air Force to update their threat libraries in real time. They can code new electronic warfare responses locally. They also ripped out the standard electronic warfare suite. The original BAE Systems AN/ASQ-239 is excellent, but Israel replaced or augmented it with their own hardware from Elbit Systems. This isn't just national pride, it's operational necessity. The electromagnetic spectrum in the Middle East is the most congested and dangerous on Earth. Standard NATO frequencies and jamming techniques are known quantities. Israel needed a bespoke frequency hopper that the Russians and Iranians hadn't spent 20 years studying. Essentially, the F-35I is an American stealth body with an Israeli digital brain. There is another massive limitation of the standard F-35 that the Pentagon likes to downplay. It has short legs and a small magazine. Because it relies on stealth, weapons must be carried internally. That limits the payload. And because the engine is massive, fuel is limited. The combat radius is roughly 600 to 660 nautical miles. That is fine if you are launching from a carrier or a base in Germany. It is not fine if you need to strike nuclear facilities in Iran, which are 1,000 miles away, and fly back without a tanker waiting for you in hostile airspace. The Adir program addressed this with brutal pragmatism. First, weapons. The US F-35 carries AMRAAMs and JDAMs. Israel integrated their own SPICE bombs. These are electro-optical/GPS-guided munitions that can glide for 60 miles. This allows the Adir to drop a bomb while standing off outside the range of most enemy air defenses. They also integrated the Python 5 missile, a dual-band infrared seeker capable of over-the-shoulder shots, meaning it can hit a plane chasing the F-35. But the biggest modification is range. Lockheed Martin and Israel developed specific external fuel tanks, drop tanks, that preserve the stealth profile as much as possible, or can be jettisoned right before entering the radar envelope of the target. This extends the range significantly, allowing for deep strikes into Iran without mid-air refueling. The standard F-35 narrative is stealth is everything. The Israeli narrative is stealth is a tool, but range and payload win wars. They took a platform designed for generic global conflicts and surgically altered it for a specific existential knife fight. So, what is the result of all this expensive tinkering?
In 2018, the Israeli Air Force commander showed a photo to international air chiefs. It was an F-35I flying over Beirut. Shortly after, Israel became the first country in the world to use the F-35 in combat. While the US Navy and Air Force were still working through software bugs and recall issues, Israel was using the jet to strike Iranian targets in Syria. In 2021, they claimed the first air-to-air kills with the platform, shooting down Iranian drones. This creates a fascinating, if uncomfortable, dynamic for the Pentagon. The United States spent $1.7 trillion to develop this plane, but the most valuable data on how the F-35 actually performs against modern Russian air defenses isn't coming from Nellis Air Force Base. It's coming from Tel Aviv. Israel is effectively beta testing the F-35 against the very systems it was designed to defeat: the S-300, the S-400, and integrated Iranian radar networks. The data flowing back from the Adir program is now being used to update the software for the US fleet. This validates the platform, but it also humiliates the procurement process. It proves that the one-size-fits-all approach of the JSF program was flawed. The most lethal version of the F-35 is the one that broke the rules of commonality. By 2026, the Adir fleet will be fully mature. It changes the calculus in the Middle East. It renders the S-300 obsolete and forces Iran to rethink its nuclear defense strategy. But it also serves as a warning to NATO. You can buy the best hardware in the world, but if you don't control the software and the doctrine, you are just a client, not a commander. The F-35's story is a paradox. It is a symbol of everything wrong with the American military-industrial complex: bloated, late, and absurdly expensive. And yet, it has produced the most capable tactical aircraft in the sky today. The Adir proves that the platform works, provided you treat it not as a finished product, but as a canvas. Israel took a flawed masterpiece and finished it. The question remains for other nations, from Germany to Canada, who are now lining up to buy the F-35. Are you buying a capability, or are you just buying a subscription service to Lockheed Martin? Because unless you have the leverage to demand the Israeli treatment, you aren't flying the plane. The software is. If this analysis made you rethink what air superiority actually costs, hit that subscribe button. We don't do propaganda here. We do the math. Drop a comment below. Should other nations demand the right to modify their F-35s? Or is that a security risk the US can't afford? I'll be reading the responses. This is Military Forces Unleashed. Stay critical.